Welcome to Feng Shui Living, the podcast designed for busy women who want to de-stress, live with intention, and create a home that truly supports their well-being. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips, insightful ideas, and simple strategies to enhance both your home and your life. Let's get started. Quick pause before we jump in. If you love this podcast, you will love my book, Aligned at Home. Think of it as your design and energy guidebook to creating a space that supports your well-being and your goals. You can get a signed copy over on my website, purelivingwithlisamorton.com, or snag it on Amazon or wherever you buy books. I hope you enjoy it. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to Feng Shui Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Morton. Welcome, welcome. Happy to have you here. Today's episode, I'm just calling myself out, right? Sometimes we have to learn things the hard way. Sometimes we have to learn, our own lessons, and it can even be embarrassing because sometimes I'm like, I should know this. Why am I not thinking of my own space? But if you've been in this space, you might understand that when you work with so many other people, you're focused on them. And sometimes things can start to fall away. I remember back years ago when I did my yoga teacher training, they're like, you have to make sure you keep your practice up because it's easy when you're teaching a whole lot of classes that you can't teach, or you don't teach. You don't have the time. You don't have the physical ability. I mean, there's one time, in addition to my business, I was teaching 10 classes a week. Now, my business it was a quiet time. I was doing a lot of background work, so I wasn't taking on a lot of clients. But I was teaching 10 classes. I physically didn't have the ability to do any yoga beyond what I was doing teaching my classes. So it's important to really check ourselves, really check ourselves. And I'll tell you, this episode came from a client I had. Her name was Becky, and even more fun, she lived about an hour from where I grew up. So I had this discovery call scheduled, and I saw the phone number, the area code, and I'm thinking, interesting. I know that area code. And then we got to talking. Oh, she was such a delight to work with. And it was interesting. We worked on several areas of her home. But one area we talked a lot about was her bathroom. Now, her bathroom, I think it was fine. It was working fine, but she was craving this relaxing spa, quiet, slow time in the bathroom. When you slow down and you put on your lotions and potions and get the gua sha out and do all those nice things, or maybe soak in a tub and read a book. But she just couldn't do it. Didn't feel comfortable in there to slow down. Well, we got to talking, and her bathroom was a bright, bright red. Now, if you've listened to the podcast for a while or read my book, Aligned at Home, you understand that red is a fire element. This is really high energy. This was basically telling her, come in, hurry and brush your teeth and get out the door. It isn't saying, come in, enjoy a soak in the tub and linger in here and enjoy this peaceful feeling. And, once I explained this to her, she was like, oh my gosh, it makes sense, right? And I got to thinking about my own experience with the color red. I used to love a pop of red. And then I look back now, and during that time, when I was loving red, I had this really great fabric headboard. I'd actually made it myself, got the plywood, got this great fabric, wrapped the wood in some batting and this fabric. It looked fantastic. It was like an amazing fabric that I got my hands on for a steal. And I was like, I'm doing this. Well, it was during this time of the red headboard days that I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious. I was stressed out. I was a mess. Sleeping, it felt near impossible. And I didn't know then what I know now. And honestly, it wasn't too long ago. I was at an apartment of a client who was struggling with sleep, and we walked in and bright red accent wall in the bedroom. Now, I'm not saying red's a horrible color to use. Red's fun, but you just have to be really mindful if you are struggling with sleep and relaxation. So this was, Becky's experience brought me back to my own. And then I'm sitting there thinking, oh boy, there's been a lot of lessons learned over the years. So I thought I'd share a couple of those with you. So I thought I would share a few more experiences and lessons that I've learned over the years of doing this work, because I have been doing it a really long time. I've been an interior designer since 2003, doing design work, various spaces. And I started my Feng Shui training back in 2011. I've been doing it a lot. I've worked with a lot of people, experienced a lot of different things, and had my own big aha moments. So here's another thing I learned. Boy, I'm a plant lover. I am a plant lover. I love bringing nature in. I love having that around my body. I recently read that on average, humans spend 95% of their time indoors. Now, I know it might vary. I would definitely say I spend a lot more time outdoors than the average person. But it's mind-blowing to think how much we're inside. And you might even think, well, I'm outside, I'm driving around, right? But you're inside a vehicle, right? You're not out with your feet on the grass, with the fresh air. We get up, go to the garage, get in the car, go to work, maybe go to school, pick up the kids, maybe go to the store, inside the store, get in your car, go home, right? We're not always able to get out and sometimes spend the time outside that we like to, if we were craving it. But bringing plants and nature inside your home is such a powerful way to bring that in when you do have to be inside. But I've learned the importance of being aware of the quantity and the size of plants. Again, personally, I love plants. I used to have way too many in my bedroom. So I had this belief before I really got too deep into my feng shui studies. I'm like, oh, I want all these plants. They're healing, right? They're healing. They're going to make my body feel so great in the morning. But plants are a wood element. And while they're not as vibrant and very young in energy like a fire element, they're still up there. They're still going to lift your energy. And when you have 25 plants in your bedroom, again, you're probably not going to sleep very well. So I recommend no more than 3 plants in your bedroom. And I'm not talking about a ginormous fiddle fig. Gosh, not too long ago, I was with someone locally. I did a walkthrough of her home. She had the biggest fiddle fig I've ever seen. This thing curved up to the ceiling and over, was going across the ceiling. Crazy. That equals like 10 plants, okay? So we're talking a normal kind of house plant, maybe a philodendron or a peace lily size, no more than 3 of those. I personally don't have any plants in my bedroom now. I've learned that I'm so sensitive. I'm so really sensitive to plants and to rocks and crystals, right? So I can't have any in my bedroom. I have a Himalayan salt lamp. That's the closest to nature in my bedroom. Now, I do have views of trees and the woods behind our house outside of the window. And those blinds are typically open. So I'm still getting nature, but it's at a reduced amount. So be mindful. Again, if you're struggling with sleep, maybe, well, first off, remove any red from the bedroom. You will feel so much better. And secondly, limit and reduce the amount of plants in your bedroom, or maybe experiment with not having any. Okay, that was a big aha moment for me. All right, Here's number, I guess, 2 or 3. I don't know what number we're on, but my next one is something that was a really fun experiment that was happening that I didn't realize was happening. So we moved to our home here in Indiana, and the front door was this burgundy color. Now, I am not a fan of a burgundy door. Plus, following the Bagua map, I wanted to bring in that water element because of the location of the door. So that requires blue or black. And I am a huge fan of a black front door. Oh my gosh, it looks fantastic. It has a presence and it says, "Look at me, I am the grand front door." So I was thinking about painting it black. Wasn't fully sure. I don't know. So I'm doing this whole thing back and forth for a while. Meanwhile, I'm noticing something's happening. So when you drive up our driveway, there's a circle drive, and then it can continue back. The garages are kind of back behind the house. Okay. And I noticed this weird thing, which I felt was really bizarre. People would drive in, and I'm not just talking about friends or family. I'm talking delivery trucks, Amazon drivers, the dry cleaning pickup guy, anybody who would drive around my circle. And instead of stopping midway around the circle and coming to the front door, they'd continue and drive back by the garages to our back door. And I'm thinking, this is really strange. What is going on here? And I watched it happen for weeks. And I finally figured it out. You see, the burgundy door was blending in with the red brick. So literally when they were driving around, not only did it not visually catch their eye, it didn't energetically catch their eye to this is the front door, this is where to stop, this is where to enter. This is the architectural front door, this is the mouth of Chi. Because at the time, we'd also recently moved in. I had it decorated. I hadn't done anything, didn't have the big wreath on the door or anything. So it was literally just this burgundy door blending in to the red brick. So it was a fascinating experience. And wouldn't you know, we had our amazing painter, Scott, come out. He painted the door, this beautiful shade of black. I want to say it was tricorn black from Sherwin-Williams. I might have to double check that, but painted it beautifully. And wouldn't you know that I don't know if it ever happened again, that a delivery or a driver went around to the back of the house. I really think that it was almost like it just put the walls up and stopped people and said, this is here. I also did then embellish and check in with the lighting and added a beautiful rug and all that. But it was really interesting how this front door alone made a huge shift. All right, here's to the last one. And this one makes my heart a little warm and soft. This was a big lesson we learned when we lived back in Ohio. It was 2017, I believe, and we had lost our beloved dog Bear. If you've had that dog that was just that very, very special creature in your life, and I go back to thinking about when I was really struggling with my mental health and well-being years prior, he laid on that bed next to me and took care of me every day. I mean, there were days I couldn't leave my house. There were days I didn't leave my bed because I was so ill. It was really a difficult time for me. And Bear was by my side all day, every day. And eventually, things got better and we got back to our old routine. But you know, if you've had that special dog, that's a very, very special creature, dog, cat, whatever, a very special creature in your life. Anyway, kind of fun side note, if you follow me on my Pure Living with Lisa Morton Instagram, you might see pictures of Cub and Violet, and Cub was actually named after Bear. Anyway, so interesting. We lost Bear. He lived for a very long time. I like to think I rocked it in the mommy department of taking care of this dog. Eventually, his time did come to an end and we lost him and we were crushed. Of course, it's one of the hardest things to do. So to honor him, we set up a bit of an altar to honor him. In our home, we had this nice console table, and I set up a little display because we needed some care. We needed to honor him. We needed a space that we could kind of grieve, right? I had a beautiful lamp, and then I had his collar, and my friend Lisa gifted me this beautiful piece of art that she'd had made for me. We had his favorite toys, a couple different things, right? And had this little display for him. And it was beautiful. And it was really beautiful. I think it's really important to do something like this when you lose a family member, and pets are family members. When you go through this, it's important to honor them and maybe celebrate them, and also have a moment, have a space to kind of grieve and work through that. But there's a point when it's time to move on. And here's the thing I didn't realize until it was too late. I typically recommend to my clients set up a space so you can honor them. And then there's a point where it's time to move it, right? Move these special items to a more quiet, special space where not everybody gets access to seeing them, right? And it's not in your face every single day. It's a more special, tucked away corner that you can go. And that's what we have now. But at the time, it was still sitting out right in front and center on this console table. About the same time, my husband was looking for a fresh new job opportunity. He was looking for a new challenge, something new. And while he had some things coming his way, it just wasn't the right thing. And he just couldn't get his hands on exactly what he was wanting. And I knew there was some sort of block, but I didn't realize it until I used my Feng Shui lenses to look at my own home. You see, our front door at that home, we walked right into the career gua using the Bagua map. If you want to learn more about this, I do have a free 15-minute discovery call over on my website. Go check that out. But this ancient map, we apply over the floor plan, and over that home's floor plan, that was the career gua, career and life path. And directly you'd walk in, and then you'd look at the rear of the home, which was the fame and reputation gua. So this is how you're seen, how people see you, what people think of with you, how people know you. And sure, these new opportunities didn't know him as a man grieving the loss of his dog. That energy was still in that. So you'd walk in and be standing in the career gua and look at this altar that we'd created. And while we had done it with so much intention, it was time to move on. So I removed this moment of sadness from that energy center, moved it to a more private, special space for us to connect with him, and replaced it with a bigger, brighter lamp that was beautiful. This big sparkly bowl that my friend Lindsay had given me, some candlesticks, and it had some metal element for focus, but also some fire. It was eye-catching. It had something to say. And wouldn't you know, right after that, he got a wonderful, amazing job offer, actually that brought us to Indiana. So that was a big learning experience. Again, if you're going through something like this, I know how hard it can be. And I just want you to know I'm here for you and happy to help you arrange the items so that it's supporting us in a good way and not bringing heavy energy to block us. Okay. Well, I feel like I just called myself out a little bit, and I guess sometimes we have to do that. Friends, thank you for hanging out on this episode with me, all about learning my own lessons in Feng Shui. And if you need anything, I'm always here for you. I'm sending you all a giant hug, and I'll see you at the next episode. Take care. Special thanks to our sponsor, Elevated Living School of Holistic Design and Feng Shui. For more information, head over to the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time.